Good evening. Today is Tuesday, May the 14th, and the time is 6:30 p.m. And I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Here.
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 Okay, thank you. We have a quorum. Item number 2, approval of minutes. Item 2.1, approval of the Planning and Zoning Commission April 23rd, 2024 regular meeting minutes. Do we have a motion to approve those?
Madam Chair with the motion.
And I'll second.
Motion to approve.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the minutes from Vice Chair DeLori and a second from Commissioner Shield. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Great, motion carries. Item number 3, citizen comment period. The Planning and Zoning Commission welcomes comments from citizens early in the agenda of regular meetings. Speakers are provided with an opportunity to speak during this time period on any agenda item or any other matter concerning city business, and they must observe the 3-minute time limit. So at this time, I'll go ahead and open citizen comments.
We do have
What is this?
that. Should we read that into citizen comments?
Will Atkinson, Planning Director for the record. Is it the letter that we received?
Yes.
That needs to be accounted for at the public hearing for
Okay.
agenda
I'll hang
item,
on to that then for later.
have a copy?
Oh, I do?
yeah, under
Is
consider
this
possible
hidden
action.
Under the agenda. Okay, well, seeing none for citizen comments, I will go ahead and close that now. I didn't close the meeting, I just knocked over the gavel. I'm gonna do it again. Okay, so citizen comments is now closed, thank you. Item number 4, consent agenda. Item 4.2, or 4.1, consider approval of the final plat for 1121 East FM 150 Lot 1, SUB-24-0333, located at 1121 East FM 150. Is there a motion on the consent item? I'm still out of breath. Okay, I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion from myself and a second from Commissioner Serrato. All those in favor, please say.
Discussion?
Is there any discussion on this item?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question why this is before us if we have to vote yes. Because it states in the presentation that legally we pretty much have to vote yes. So why couldn't staff just okay it, and why do we have to vote on it?
Because it is not a short form plat. It does not meet the requirements under state law that allows staff to administratively approve it. So it's a final plat for a commercial lot, and it really requires the Planning and Zoning Commission to approve it, but we put it on consent because it meets all the statutory requirements.
And I understand that. It's just, being told that we have to vote yes, it's just kind of, okay. So, okay, thank you.
Okay, she had something to add.
I will say, if you found an issue with the plan or something out of compliance, you could absolutely ask for clarification and or vote no on it. But staff has looked at it to see if it meets the requirements for state and local statutes for the plat.
Okay. Yeah, as I said in the presentation, it pretty much said, we had to vote yes, that's why. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other comments on the consent item? Okay, all those in favor of approving, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. Okay, that passes. Item number 5, consider and possible action. Item 5.1, consider and make a recommendation to City Council regarding a request to rezone approximately 45.3 acres of land from RS Retail Services to PUD Planned Unit Development with a base zoning district of RS for approximately 29.9 acres and R-3-3 apartments for approximately 15.4 acres for a project known as Two Step located at 22675 IH35 in Kyle, Texas. Brought by Kyle Retail / Office LLC, Z-23-0119. There is a public hearing for this item, so I'll open that now. voila, I've got a public hearing item. Okay, so this is from, I just read it out? I've not had one of these before, I just read it out.
Yes, you just read the letter based on what they said into the record.
So
Okay,
pretty much.
so this is coming from Smith Dairy Queens, address 12601 IH 35 Cal, Texas. They're saying they are not in favor because they do not have enough information on the project. Anyone else for the public hearing? Okey dokey. I will go ahead and close that now at 6:35. Mr. Lutz, do we have a presentation for this?
Yes, thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. Good evening. We're here today to discuss case Z230119. This is a rezoning requesting a planned unit development. This is the location property. You can see this is basically the east and west sides of FM 150 behind the existing Dairy Queen right across I-35 from us here tonight. The applicant is looking at requesting this PUD. They're allowing, the PUD would allow this property to develop a combination of commercial, multifamily office areas, approximately 29 acres of retail services zoning, and then 15 acres of the R33. Again, this project is divided by FM 150, but the project is designed and will operate as one unique development. The PUD will also have an associated development agreement to further regulate the project, as well as a 380 agreement that will be considered by City Council. The DA is going to allow a reduction of minimum masonry required for the I-35 overlay. So currently, the I-35 overlay requires 90% brick or stone. This one will allow 60% masonry, brick, stone, or stucco with the minimum 40% actually being a brick or stone. So they can allow stucco and the extra 20% if needed. The DA is not part of y'all's purview, but I wanted to let y'all know that that was in there because that is going to be part of the overall look and feel of the development. This development is going to look at a maximum of 350 multifamily units, 24 townhomes, and sorry, this is a typo. There'll actually be an additional 15 flats, as they're calling them, on the RS parcel on the west. So approximately about 39 maximum units on the west side of 150. And then the multifamily, the R33 section that was highlighted, is going to have a 350 units total cap on that one as well. They are looking at 150,000 square feet of commercial office uses, and then they're also donating or opening up approximately 13 acres for public parkland. It will be privately owned and privately maintained, but it will be open to the general public. So we look at the land plan here before you. Again, this tract is broken up into basically three parcels. You got parcel 1, which is RS, parcel 2, RS zoning as well, and then parcel 3 has the base zoning of the R33. Again, pretty much basic layout of the property for this tract. So we'll look at the development kind of in sections. I'll take each parcel piece by piece. This development will have some familiar language regarding prohibited uses. So the RS is a pretty open zoning district, but currently we are going to recommend prohibition of the following uses. This is our standard list that we generally take whenever we consider a project like this. Again, the development itself and kind of the uniqueness probably doesn't lend itself well to some of these uses, but we wanted to make sure that we memorialize that in the PUD document itself. When we look at parcel 1, this is RS. Again, this will be more of a destination development. They are looking at retail, restaurant, office, hotel, and then a vibe spot. Some of the differences in this PUD versus the base zoning will be 20-foot setbacks from I-35 and FM 150. Unless there's some kind of easement in there. Some of these areas may have a 30-foot utility easement, so obviously they can't develop in those. But it is a little bit of a reduction from what we normally see in the RS standard zoning setback. It will also allow for 0 side yard setbacks and interior side lot lines, provided that the buildings do meet the fire code for the required separation based on building type. There is no minimum lot sizes on this, and it would allow lots to have cross-access easements. So currently, our ordinance requires each lot to have frontage. This one will waive that frontage requirement, allow those parcels to have cross-access easement if need be, depending on how the property is subdivided. Again, 24 residential townhomes and 15 residential flats located in 2 areas. Those are going to be on the east side of the property and then the southeast side as well, just above that pond. Those are the 2 locations of the residential areas in this tract. Parcel 2 is going to be an entertainment retail hub. This is going to be adjacent to the residential just to the north, or the R33 multifamily. They're looking, again, a proposed vibe trail, retail shopping, outdoor gathering spaces, possible beer garden with pickleball courts as well. Again, those are the additional amenities. Will be a water feature, open space, dog park, picnic areas, and then again, public access to that water feature amenity. You can see it in the image just above the sidewalk. As we look at parcel 3, this is our traditional multifamily parcel. This is going to again be capped at 350 residential units with 1.3 parking spaces per unit. This will have 25-foot front setbacks, but 15 setback from Mikey Court. That's the little stub out street along the rear of the property. It's on the northern side of this image. And then again, this would allow 0 setbacks on interior and side lot lines, provided they meet fire separation for building materials. Parkland dedication is part of this PUD and development agreement. They, again, as I mentioned earlier, 13.5 acres approximately parkland, as well as the Vibe Trail and the Vibe Spot. Parkland acreage is illustrated on Exhibit C. I have a couple of images that I'll run through and kind of show you where those are. This will satisfy their parkland dedication requirements to the city. They're also going to amenitize this as well, so any of those costs associated with the amenitization will go to its parkland improvement fee as credit. So they won't be paying a separate fee per unit on the multifamily that we traditionally see. Again, all parkland private is going to be open to the public. It'll be privately maintained, except for the multifamily tract, the pool and those private areas. Those will not be open to the public, but everything else will be. So here's kind of an image of some of the parkland. We've got some Vibe Trail going through the floodplain down through the creek. There's also a park kind of entrance and picnic area just to the southeast side of FM 150. They're also going to extend the existing 10-foot pedestrian path or sidewalk that's along I-35 currently. They're going to extend that along the property and then down Hill Street. This is the Vibe Spot detail. This is kind of the center of the commercial parcel on the R1 tract, or I'm sorry, the parcel 1 tract. And then these are kind of some concept images of what that would look like from the interior of that commercial development in the Vibe area. So these next few images, again, I want to touch, the DA is going to cover the regulations regarding building materials, but I did want to kind of go through the conceptual designs. I do want to let you know that these are conceptual. They may change depending on the architect and the final design. This will not be something that you guys see as part of your normal I-35 overlay zoning districts. Because of the DA and the zoning, staff will need to do a thorough review to make sure it adheres that point, and so we will be kind of bypassing that. Now, if there's issues or changes to the plan, and maybe we don't agree, staff and the applicant, they can appeal, and that may go to you, or if there are any future changes or amendments that would come to you as well. So real quickly, I'm going to kind of just jump through some of these conceptual images. This is the retail section. This would be the Vibe area, the Vibe Spot. Again, more retail. And then signs. There were a couple of variances to our sign code that was worked into this area, that, mostly related to square footage and maximum height for these. I believe the maximum height on this is going to be 60 feet for any of the big, large entry monument signs. And then the water tower that you saw in that first image will also be an electronic reader board sign. So that just, it's not just a water tower. I don't know if you could see that from the images, but I want to make sure y'all saw that. The options before you today are recommend approval to requested zoning change as requested by the applicant. Recommend approval of the zoning changes with any P&Z recommendations or modifications that you deem necessary or that you'd like to include. And then your option 3 is recommend denial. So those are the 3 options before you. Staff is recommending option 1 at this time, but I can answer any questions that you may have, and the applicant is here as well if you have any specific questions that I can't address. So, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for staff?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Lutz, just a couple of questions here for my own edification. If we could go back and look at the plat in your presentation, that's fine. I have a concern, it's a safety concern, about the interaction between turning traffic on the west entrance, the 2 entrances there, and the I-35 frontage road. The traffic in there is often quite fast, and it doesn't appear to be a turn lane to go in or out of the development. Have we considered, or has the applicant considered doing turn lanes for those
Yes.
entrances?
Yes, so the applicant has been coordinating with TxDOT. I apologize that I did not have a slide for that. They actually have a plan that was approved by TxDOT. There will actually be a mid-block crossing. If you look on this image, right below the F on FM 150, that will become a signalized intersection. There will need to be improvements done to this area. Possibly decel lanes in some areas, turn lanes in others, so there will be some modifications. We do not have that final plan approved by TxDOT at this point, but the PUD does contemplate TxDOT approval. There are some exhibits attached to the ordinance that will kind of dictate what those changes are. It will allow the applicant to modify those depending on either changes in the land plan or traffic patterns. They may be able to adjust some driveways. That would not have to come back to you at that point. It is an amendment. It's written that as long as TxDOT signs off and staff gives their approval and it's in basic compliance with what's there, that we would approve that. Again, this section of 150 is not owned by the city or not controlled by the city. Its access is regulated through TxDOT.
Yeah, so I wasn't referring to the 150. I'm glad there's going to be a light there. I was referring to the I-35 frontage road and that, and 35 frontage, I'm assuming, that's TxDOT.
Yes, yes.
So is our city engineering participating in this traffic, or?
City staff has been participating in the initial scoping. We've also reviewed and made some comments, so yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. Second question, the parkland dedication, correct me if I'm wrong, usually the dedication is land that's turned over to the city, and then the city operates it as a park, as a city park, correct? I'm just trying to understand the rationale for retaining it as private land and private maintenance by the owners.
Generally, yes, you're correct. If parkland is being dedicated, that is generally given to the city, owned and operated. But as I think you're all aware, we've had several projects that kind of go through this alternate route where they get some credit as long as they provide it for open areas and open to the public. I think because of the nature of this area, that's not probably something that the city would want to take on. But the applicant was willing to open it up. So during our discussions, that was kind of what was negotiated. If you have some concerns or other thoughts, y'all can make y'all's recommendations to council. But based on the kind of layout and where it was and some of the other parks in the area, we felt that this was worthy acceptance into the PUD.
Yeah, I was just curious. Normally, if we have our own parks, we maintain them to a certain standard. In this instance, we're going to leave it to the owner to maintain the parks to a certain standard, and I don't know how we could affect that once it's established, if you know what I'm saying.
We will have another opportunity to address that. So the parkland will be dedicated either via an easement or some separate parks agreement. So at that point, we can discuss kind of hours of operation, maintenance, if there's specific concerns that we have.
Trash removal and
Yes,
things of that nature.
Yeah,
Okay.
so approval of this PUD will not guarantee that this park, we still have some some opportunity to make some changes there. But ultimately, this will be open to the public and satisfy the credit.
Okay, thanks. And then if park goers from the public want to park in the commercial district, is that going to be permitted? Like near the beer garden or in that area?
Yes, sir. So the parking is designed to be shared across the entire site, obviously except for the R33 areas.
Okay, yeah.
If we have some specific concerns on that, I would ask that you put any concerns you have into the motion or the recommendation so that we can make sure council's aware of those.
Right. Okay, that's all my questions.
Just a quick question. I think you touched on it, but when are we going to learn more about the materials that are being used? Because it is quite a jump from like the typical I-35 overlay of 90% to 60%.
You guys probably would not see any materials after this point. They would be basically have to be in line with those exhibits. So if you're comfortable with the 60% that was there, then vote how you will. If you're not comfortable with that, then I would say make a recommendation for whatever percentage you feel comfortable. But from a material perspective, you would not see that unless the applicant came in with something that was kind of outside of what those concept images were.
Mm-hmm.
And if staff felt that didn't really meet the intent, we would deny that, and then you would be the appeal board on that. So.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Shield.
All right. So when I first saw this, I was excited for seeing RS. I live down 150, and I've been waiting for RS for this particular plot for quite a while. When I first moved here, we were promised an HEB there. So, however, parcel 1 and parcel 2, I'm in agreement with. Parcel 3. Why do we have to have apartments here? Why cannot this be complete retail services? Has there been a traffic study? Because that stretch of 150 gets very backed up. And so adding more homes, R33 there, just, that bothers me a lot. Matter of fact, council has declined R33 in that spot twice before. So I'm not sure why we have to have this here. Why can we not just have it all retail services, maybe with some townhomes and, your commercial with, loft spaces. I can handle that, but that dense family, that bothers me a lot. That's number 1. Number 2, would you have access from your northwest corner area of parcel 1? Could you have a way to maybe help out Dairy Queen with its issue of its drive-through? Because if you've ever driven there at certain times, you'll see that drive-through actually goes out onto 150. People are parked on 150 up to the access road. So that's a traffic hazard already. And I know the city's been trying to work with Dairy Queen to figure something out, but that's been an issue already. So I'm wondering if you guys would be able to maybe work with them to try to help, figure that out. It's just, and having a light there, right there, I just again see all that traffic being backed up past the access road, just like it happens sometimes, when the train comes through on the other side, backed up, or when traffic is just traffic is horrific in this area. So I just worry about safety when it comes to the traffic of especially just having that much R33. Again, a lot of retail, and you have a lot of people to support that retail, all up and down 150, and now with the new Waterstone development, all those homes. There's a lot of people coming from those areas who will support your retail services. So I don't see the need for the R33. And so that's where I'm going to state, unless you guys have something to add to that.
Yeah, I'll have to turn those questions over
Okay.
to the owner to answer. So, hi.
Hi.
So thank you for your comments. Let me see if I can help clarify a few things. We've been working on this project for 3 years, and thank you for having us tonight. We wanted to bring something to the community that was open for the neighborhoods and the people that live here in Kyle, not just for the multifamily group that's going to possibly occupy this parcel. The idea was, originally when we came to Kyle to start talking about this development, they wanted to put some retail underneath some of the multifamily, and that was kind of the thought behind some of these other developments that y'all are doing around Kyle. And our idea was to make sure that the R1 or Lot 1 and Lot 2 were open for all the neighbors. We want people to drive there. We want people to go get their golf carts or come in their golf carts. We want kids to use these amenities, and that's why we separated the retail or Lot 2 from the multifamily. We felt like that the multifamily is going to help employ, or the retail is going to help employ some of the multifamily, but more importantly, it was just like, it just opens all this parkland, 30 of the 45 acres for everybody that wants to come visit from Kyle or from San Marcos or from Buda or wherever. So it's more of a design that we thought that would give us a little more flexibility to do what is really for the kids and the neighbors and everybody that wants to come here on a weekend. And we were hoping that, and what we're trying to create was a destination, not just one vibe trail that Jason was talking about, but we were wanting this other area across the street from the light to be, and the pond to be, another vibe area. That's a place that people go and enjoy with the kids, walking around the park, dog park. The idea is that this is, with all these trails and vibe trails coming through here, we were, again, working with the city to try to say, this is what we think would do really, really well. And we want it to all look the same. We want the same masonry, and we want the same restrictions, that every bit of this looks like it's one development, not 3 different developments. So everything is going to be designed to a T. And if I don't know how many pictures that y'all have seen, but there's a lot of renderings that went into this, and 3 years of work that's gone back and forth with architects and engineers, et cetera. So we're kind of at that point now where we're trying to wrap everything up. But we've again had, I don't know, multiple meetings, a dozen or more, probably a lot more than that. But there was ideas originally that they wanted to make some townhomes affordable, and so that's why what we built into our plan went with the large retail tract. So we put some townhomes there because it sounds like affordability is great. People like that kind of design, and it's useful. The same thing applied with flats. We were asked, would you provide us some flats where people could rent or buy? Sure. So we've kind of gone back and forth trying to get everybody on board with this plan and just say, we can still tweak some things around here and there, but we've really kind of done the best we can with what we've done with architects, engineers, land planners, and so this is the best plan that we've come up with to date. And so far, I had a presentation in front of City Council December 19th, I believe, and we were told that everything looks great, please move forward. And so we are here today to try to get y'all to approve this process and move on down the road. And we're excited. We want to get this thing started as soon as possible. We've had an elaborate TxDOT TIA done on this property with TxDOT. The city, us, and TxDOT have all been involved in how to free up some lanes and some traffic, including decel lanes and some other turn lanes that have been impacted, and shown by a TxDOT exhibit that I don't know that's in your information, but we've spent for a lot of time doing that as well. We've worked with PEC. We've worked with just about everybody that we are aware of that, to help us make things flow better. And so that's kind of where we're at today.
Okay, so there's no option to get rid of the R33 and make it all retail services?
I couldn't.
Or even townhomes, or more of the loft situation?
I don't think, as much as I would like to say it's an option, I don't think it is, because we have designed this whole process around this multifamily. And again, I mean, there's areas in Central Texas that don't have any people that want to work because they don't want to drive to, there's no parking. And part of the R3, we're hoping that some of these residents do come over and work in some of these places, whether it's restaurants, shops, or what have you, where it eliminates some of the parking. We want to free up some parking, not have parking problems. We're laid out with a parking garage, 4-story parking garage to help allow plenty of parking for the weekends and for weekdays. But I think that, for the most part, we wanted to separate the multifamily where it stood alone. They have their own pools, their own amenities, and this is really for the general public to enjoy and use. And if they want to come, then they're welcome to it. But it's completely gated and separated from the whole development.
Okay, so what you just said was, this was a multifamily development that grew into RS, not RS needing multifamily.
No, I think, and I'm sorry sometimes I say things that I don't mean or say incorrectly. So it never started out to be a multifamily tract and then to build everything around it. It was always going to be a mixed-use development, always. I bought this from HEB and Barshop Olds in since I started working on it in May of 2021. Closed on the property in November of 2021. And so then we had already been meeting with the city the first day or first week I put this under contract. So I've been working with the city consistently over the last 2.5 years, especially after closing, to get to where we are today. But it was always to be a mixed-use development that would benefit the whole retail development. Does that make sense? Did I say? But I didn't say I needed multifamily to make all this stuff success. What I wanted to do was come to Kyle and build the best retail environment in Kyle, period. That was my desire, I didn't want it to look like, and I'm not knocking other developers, but some of the other brick and mortar, same thing. My idea, and I mentioned this to city council, is to try to recruit as much local vendors and stores and operators as possible, whether it's restaurant, retail, or whatever. And so that was my goal, and that's why you see this. There's other retailers that said, why don't you just chop it up? And I was like, that's not what I want to do. I want to make an impact here where it's something the city's proud of.
Yeah, if you have good product here, everybody from, the east on 150, that's their first stop.
Sure.
And south of 150, that's going to be their first stop, okay? If you have, and no need to go further north, that's great. Again, I'm just very concerned about the traffic and everything, trying to get out onto 150 or, even just, especially in that curve.
Yeah, so what I've understood, that, Mikey Court needs to be improved. It's rough, it needs to be fixed, the whole street itself. So, I'm hoping that becomes more of an entrance and an exit than probably 150, if you will. I think some people are going to go to the light, but if they're going to the light, they're probably coming hopefully to the retail across the street. So I don't think everybody's going to leave the way it's designed. I don't think they're going to leave 150 and go to the light and then come out 150 and head north. And we are, like I said, TxDOT has encouraged us or asked us to provide decel lanes at 150 where it goes to Hill Street. They've actually asked us to pull down some curbs along 150 where it goes to the red light, so where there's more areas for people to line up their cars and get into the left-hand side where the water's going to be and the water feature and fountain's going to be.
Okay.
So there's been a lot of in-depth conversations with TxDOT on how to eliminate some of these traffic concerns that a lot of people.
But doesn't, what do you call it, Mighty Court? What was the road on the north side?
Mikey?
Okay.
No,
Doesn't
I'm
that,
sorry, Hills.
not
Yeah, Mikey
Hills-
Court, you're right.
Yeah. Doesn't that come out onto the private drive for the other development that's already there, right behind Dairy Queen? And that's a private drive, is it not? Because, already people use it to bypass the light and come down from, you know.
So yes, that section next to Mikey Court that connects Philomena to there is a private drive, but it is open to the public. It's not like it's cut off or only used for those
Right,
folks.
believe me, the public uses it.
Yes, ma'am, they do.
As I said, either to, bypass everybody at the light or from Philomena so that they can go left instead of having to go up and around. Okay, that's my questions. I don't think I can.
Okay. Do you have questions? Kristen?
Yeah, but you can go.
No, go for it. I'll go last. You go for it.
Ladies first.
I think that Robert's rules say I'm supposed to go last, but if you insist. No, just kidding. Go, please.
All right.
Okay.
That should be. So on the parcel 2 development, the water feature that's there.
Yes, sir.
There's an existing, I guess, it's a tributary or something. Flooding is always a concern, has always been a concern in that area, even with Lehman Road being raised. It rains so much, and with all the development out west, it all flows downhill, it gets shut down. So being so close there, it's like, that's a lot of development there, or impervious cover, probably gonna add to that. Will that water feature there, is that gonna be realigned or anything, or is it just gonna be an open space? Like,
If I'm hearing you correct, so the water feature itself is gonna be open to the public. The city has asked us to maintain all that wetlands area back there. So our idea is to clean it up and make it very usable to the general public in that area.
So-
And make sure that it doesn't cause any,
remove the wetlands?
I'm sorry?
I said, so remove the wetlands, fill it in the wetlands? I'm asking from
Whatever the city and the engineers want us to do, we want to make it as nice as possible for the community. So if they tell us that we need to remove some of the shrubs that shouldn't be there, that are causing flooding issues, then we'll remove them. But it's going to be really between the civil engineers and your engineers to help guide us.
I'm asking from from a 404 standpoint, since it's the waters of the U.S., it's, so you fill in the wetland, you gotta get a permit from the Corps of Engineers. If you exceed a certain, go over a tenth of an acre, then you're looking at mitigation, and then being that there aren't any mitigation. I'm asking because I deal with this a lot. So it's kind of, I guess, has there been thought into the water feature there? If you're gonna be
Yes,
impacting the wetlands and
Yeah,
stuff?
I'm not an engineer to speak for this.
No,
It's kind of
it's all good.
So, for the record, I'm Carrie Bressler with TDI Engineering. I'm a project manager at TDI. And I think we're kind of mixing up two things. The water feature is actually designed to be outside of the 100-year floodplain. The 100-year floodplain condition there, as I understand it, is a backwater that backs up from Lake Kyle up to a specific contour elevation. It's more like a bathtub. There is a little bit of like creek flow element that comes down the channels, but the predominant high level of the floodplain in the 100-year event comes to a particular line along the back. And
Right.
if you see the parkland area that's sort of the faded down blue, where the white trail is, on the creek side of that is where the floodplain is. And so above that is not in the floodplain. And I think the idea is just to build the vibe trail, right? And do any drainage, debris removal that's required.
Right.
And during the design, then any 404 issues would be identified, in the design plan process when it's engineered. When it's engineered right now, it's like lines on a
Right,
paper.
no,
kind of.
and I'm just asking, whether it's, but the tributary itself would be, since it has a nexus to the Lake Kyle, it's probably gonna be, it's regulated by the Corps of Engineers, so you gotta get a permit. So it doesn't matter if you're outside the floodplain or not. It is a regulated water, so, I'm just saying, if you get a permit,
Well, that only applies to the jurisdictional waterways, right? So an environmental professional would identify the limits.
right, that's what I'm saying. But
Okay.
I'm not attacking, I'm addressing it from that, but also the issue with flooding in the area, it's like, that area tends to flood a lot, so, we're adding impervious cover so close to Lehman, that area just constantly floods anytime there's a significant amount. So I don't know how that's going to be addressed.
Well, in the design, the engineer would prepare a drainage analysis that would meet the city of Kyle standards.
Okay.
And preliminary drainage analyses have already been conducted, but they need to be based on the final design. This was just, there's been a lot, like 3 years worth of work to try to figure things out enough to get to this plan, basically.
Right. No, I understand. Yeah. It's just, would hate to, like, I understand. I mean, there's a lot of work, you go into developing something, I would hate for a surprise to come at the end, like, oh man, we didn't think about that. And from a forest standpoint, you get a permit and hey, now they require mitigation. We don't have any mitigation banks in here, so you're looking at like $2 million of mitigation. And you're trying to find, it just takes years and you won't get your permit until you have an approved mitigation plan. So that's something that's like, hey, maybe kind of start thinking about it. But it doesn't really have a lot. Anyways, but that's something that's probably going to be addressed. So.
Sure. Yeah. So that would be part of the plans for any work down in the creek area.
Thank you.
Did you have any other questions?
No, I'm good.
No, okay. So I'll just fire questions out. Feel free to answer them, or staff can answer it, whomever is best suited. So one of the things that I was wondering about was that the ponds, not the runoff areas, but the actual ponds. I see 3 of them on the illustration here. I like water. I think water features are lovely. I do hear a lot from people in the community about how they don't think the city is using water in the most responsible way. And there's been some chatter about a park that we have here for veterans that has a nice water feature, and people are complaining about the use of water for that. And so I'm quite concerned that if the city water is being used to fill ponds here, if they're not even happy about water being used to honor veterans, I think this would be a tough sell. So I'm wondering if you know yet where this water would come from to make sure that these things are full and looking nice all the time.
Yeah, so what we've said we wanted to do is try to do some water collection means on trying to make this as water conservative as possible on all these ponds. So the idea is not to come in here and use city water to fill them. We've talked about condensation, we've talked about runoff, we've talked about filtering the water to make it cleaner. Again, we're envisioning kids around there that are, feeding ducks and whatever wildlife's around, dogs. So our idea is to keep it safe and try to get water there that is being conservative enough that it's not running off. We want to use the best liners that contain it and don't, filter through to a coarse underlayer underneath it. So, those are the things that we're still working towards, and we've talked to the city quite a bit about. But until we have this approved, it's kind of like I can't pull all these professionals in. We've already had all these professionals. I've got 2 engineering firms and architects and you name it, land planners. But, we're just waiting to get this approved through you where we can say, okay, go do your work. And based on our comments and conversation with city staff, we're going to do everything possible to make it as conservative as possible with the water features. And we realize that's we love water. We like the look of water. We're hoping the city, enjoys the features as well. But we're going to do all our best to make this the best development here in Kyle and where everybody enjoys it. So that's kind of been our plan all along. Does that make any sense? I don't really know if I gave you the right answers, because that's more of a civil engineer, and that's out of kind of my pay grade. I just know that there's several of these around Austin that do really well and are great amenities, and I just think that it was a great add to this to, again, open it to the public.
For sure. I want to encourage, if this gets approved by the council, I would encourage y'all to do everything that you can to not use city water, because if you use city water, you will never hear the end of it from people in this town. They will.
Understood. I've been watching y'all's comments back with San Marcos and back
okay.
a little bit on TV, so I understand
Good.
where y'all are coming from.
Perfect. So another question that I had, the PUD uses the terminology of multifamily flats quite a bit. That's not a phrase that we use in the ordinances right now. So I'm just curious, when y'all talk about a multifamily flat, what is that?
So 3 years ago, you had a city manager that wanted them to be flats. And that term came up and we said, if you want flats to make this successful, we'll give you flats. And so the idea is to build, on one of the buildings, facing kind of the amphitheater, is build individual units. I think we're showing 12, right, 15, that are just gonna be, basically, you're gonna take an elevator up or 2 elevators up and you're gonna go up, and you're gonna go into a hallway, and it's gonna be one open area that's gonna have a bedroom, a kitchen, and a living area. And so that was the idea, and whether those are for rent or for sale, we're kind of flexible. Same thing happened with the townhomes around the garages, or those 2 water features. The city asked, could this be for sale instead of for rent? We said, absolutely. I mean, if it helps build affordability, and they're, affordable, because houses are going so, getting so expensive, then we'd love to have townhomes around there and give people the availability to buy them at, and I don't know what that price point is. It's $350 or $450 or whatever that number is.
So right now, by the water features, those are gonna be townhomes, and then by the amphitheater vibe spot, that's more like an apartment, but it's something to own perhaps instead of something that you rent.
We haven't actually said
Not sure yet.
100% what we can do there.
Okay.
But we're flexible with that. If people say, hey, we want to buy a flat and it's $250,000, and we say, it's yours, fine. I'm not a residential developer, so to speak, so I'm going to make sure it matches what we're trying to do, and it's going to have the amenities. The other thing that we haven't discussed that's on here, that the idea is to have a rental and sales golf cart area, so people can, in the garage, so people can come over here, park their cars in the garage, go rent one for a day, run around town, or buy one, whatever the case may be. But that's also another thing that we're kind of claiming as kind of a vibe stop to get people here. So there's, I don't know what else I could add to that. I think Jason did a great job of presenting you with everything, so I think he answered a lot of questions, possibly.
Yeah, we'll keep him.
Really?
What's that?
I said really?
Really? Yeah, I make
course.
those decisions.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, a couple more questions, and I noticed that for the RS zone, the way the PUD is phrased, we're looking at a maximum of 39 residential units. Would you say that there's a minimum number that you're comfortable with? If we wanted to codify that in the PUD, say a minimum of this number, is there a number that you would
On the commercial
throw out
side?
there? Mm-hmm.
I think we're flexible with that. Keep in mind, so originally we had larger units, and when you looked at the larger units, then you got to a price point of, I was worried about getting to a $500,000 or $600,000 or $800,000 townhome because they were so large. And so I kind of squeezed those down to make sure that they were affordable in this area for the demographics that are there. But even the flats, for that matter, if we got rid of the flats, it's not a deal killer for me whatsoever. The idea was to see if the residents wanted them that live close by. And so, if we eliminated those and put office up there or something else, some other type of retail, I wouldn't be opposed to that at all.
Okay. The reason I ask is because I personally love the mixing of the uses. I want the residential there. And, with the legal speak, if something says, oh, there's a maximum of this, but there's no rule about a minimum, I want to make sure that we're not losing the residential there down the road if the plans were to need to be adjusted. I want to make sure that we're getting that mix of use in the parcel.
So correct me, minimum of 20 is what's in there now? No.
It got switched to a maximum.
A max.
So I got switched from a minimum to a maximum.
I can speak to that.
Good.
Sorry. So yes, the original proposal had a minimum of 24 parcels, I believe. Then we added the flats, so that got us to 39. We had some internal staff discussions whether it should be minimum or maximum. I think we went with maximum because we just wanted to make sure that we didn't go over that, and all of a sudden we got 50, 60, and it kind of became a multifamily project. I think what Commissioner Onken was considering was, would you be comfortable with like minimum of 20, maximum of 30, to get a range. I think she's just trying to
Yeah, that's
get
easy.
some.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Or Mr. Lutz. Okay, my last question is probably directly for the staff. For the prohibited uses, convenience store is currently on that list, and I don't know, when I'm thinking about this place, if I were to live here, I would appreciate having a place that I could walk to get, you know, a can of tomatoes or some bananas or a bottle of wine to have with my dinner that I'm cooking at home in my townhome or multifamily flat or in my apartment. Why no convenience stores? And is there anything that we could do to get those?
Staff or owner?
Staff, probably.
I think generally this is our kind of typical list. These are uses that I think council's kind of directed staff to say, hey, we feel comfortable with the amount of these facilities that we have in the city. We'd like to see more diversity, less car washes, less gas stations. So that's why we have that ordinance that prohibits them within so far. Convenience stores has been part of that because normally it's very rare in Texas that you don't have a convenience store with a gas station. You don't see a lot of standalone convenience stores in just our neck of the woods. Other parts of the country, that's perfectly normal. Here, not so much. Same with gas stations. You don't see a lot of gas stations that are just solo without some type of convenience. So that's generally why we put those in there. If you'd like to see something in there, you know, more generally, that's a convenience store is a retail use. If you wanted to make an amendment to that as long as we're not opening it up for gas stations, I think that's staff's big concern. That just kind of, any one of these uses kind of change the look and feel or can affect this development as a whole. So, you know, if you want to delete maybe convenience or allow convenience store, delete it from this list, you know, as long as we just say convenience store without gas, or if we just say general retail and we don't really look at what they're selling, whether it's food, hair products. I mean, we could kind of go that way, but
Yeah.
you'd have to talk to.
I'm open to that. Actually, I would love to see something like that. They have all these blue, what are they called? Royal Blue, little grocery stores downtown in several areas in Austin. So I'd love to have something like that. So I'm definitely open for that. I think it should be with everybody that's living around here and going to work or whatever. I know there's a Sprouts going down 150, but still I like going to a smaller store than a larger store myself.
It's just easy when you need to get things on a whim. Oh, shoot, I forgot this. And then you can pop over and get it. And also thinking about how to keep cars off of the road. If you have to make a trip to the store each time you need something, then that could add to congestion.
Sure.
Yeah. And along that same line, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm wondering if that drive-through use makes the most sense there, because that's going to be a lot of cars going in and out routinely, and that could add to the traffic on the road versus a use where you go and it's a destination where you stay for a bit instead of just coming in and out with cars.
So you're talking the one before the pond, right? To the south of the pond?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so the idea behind that one was we had Southside Barbecue out of, where are they out of? Bastrop. So they were looking, but they wanted to be on 35 and they wanted a standalone drive-through. And I said, no, I didn't want a standalone drive-through on the large parcel. So we threw that in there. It's kind of a last-minute ad. Okay. My thought is, you know, it could be a coffee shop or it could be a vet clinic with, you know, you drop off your dog for daycare all day or whatever, get shots and pick him back up and he's groomed or whatever. And so it's not necessary, but I like to have it, sure. But I'm trying to, again, work with you guys and you know, if staff says, hey, it's, you know, we don't like it, we don't want it, then it's gone. I'll put something else there.
Okay. Cool. Thank you very much.
You bet.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Yes, Vice Chair DeLory.
Just one more question, and I apologize if I missed it in the package here somewhere. the hotel, are you going to have a tenant come in to do that? Or you're encouraging a hotelier to come and build on your site? How is that going to work?
Yeah, I've always thought that would be a great amenity. I've had some city staff say that as well. I'm trying to I've been in talks with Wyndham and Marriott, but I'm not going to sell it to a flag that I don't want, that I don't think will be an amenity to this area. So I'm not going to throw, and I don't want to sling names out, but I'm sure you know some of the hotels I'm not
Yes.
putting in there.
That's the ones I was
Yeah,
thinking about.
I'm looking at Wyndham and Marriott. Those are my first two picks.
Okay.
But if I had it my way, I'd have a rooftop restaurant, maybe with a lounge, but who knows?
Okay.
I do have conversations working right now.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, so we are now tasked with making a recommendation to the city council, if anybody would like to start on that.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a recommendation that we approve with the stipulation that we remove the convenience store from the prohibited uses that the city exercises over the owner.
And just for a point of clarification,
Yeah.
there was some conversation that it sounds like convenience stores were okay in y'all's mind as long as they didn't have gas. So maybe we change that to either remove it or allow convenience stores without gas. I just need some clarification if it's really, which one it is.
Right. So I'll clarify, and the motion would be to remove convenience store, but stipulate in the agreement that a convenience store with no gas would be permitted. Words to that effect.
So for the list of prohibited uses, could we just amend convenience store to say convenience store with gas?
Yes.
Would that work for you?
Would that work for staff?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we understand the intent. Okay.
We got there backwards, but we got there.
So that's the only change that I see, and that's my motion put forward.
Okay. So we have a motion to recommend approval of the PUD with the change of adding without gas to, or adding with gas to the convenience store prohibited use. Is there a second on that?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on this from the crowd?
Just a quick statement. I think the owner's done due diligence to conform to our city's comprehensive plan that we put through. He's helping with the Vibe Trail, with the Vibe Node, mixed-use development. Is it perfect? No, but I think it's better than most. And I think it deserves to be built here. I think it will be a nice addition to what we have here in Kyle. Thank you.
Other comments? Okay. I'm going to recommend some additional amendments to the PUD, so I'm going to amend your motion. I would like to add a minimum number of residential units for the RS zone of 20 to go along with the maximum that's listed of 39. I would also like to propose an amendment to section E2 about the Vibe Trail and Vibe Spot. It's currently saying that the certificate of occupancy for the last retail building is dependent on having that Vibe Trail and Vibe Spot completed. I believe that might be a little late in the game. I'm not sure what order they're planning to build things in at, but I'm thinking if I'm in residential there, you should have access to a Vibe Trail if you live there. So I'm going to recommend that we modify the PUD to say that the Vibe Trail has to be complete to have a certificate of occupancy for the R33 And then for the vibe spot, that has to be complete to, I don't know, maybe 50% of the buildings around the vibe spot, when those are ready for occupancy, the vibe spot would need to be
Sure.
ready to go.
I think our intention is to put in on all the vibe spot, the trails early. It's to be early on, just because
Okay.
once we start, we have all these, trucks and equipment moving back and forth. Our intention is to get that done sooner than later, and it's supposed to be part of phase 1 and 2. So that's first thing we're going to start.
Okay.
One of the first things we're starting.
Okay.
But I'm definitely agreeable to what you're
Okay. Okay, so let me work on my list here.
Do we need to vote separate vote for her amendments, or does he need to rescind his and add hers to it?
This is a motion to amend, is my understanding. It's a motion to amend his motion. So when she's finished with her motion, if it gets a second, you vote on the motion to amend, and then
Okay,
you vote
that's
on
what
the
I
motion
thought,
as
and
amended.
that's what I was just making sure about. All right, thank you.
Yeah, sorry. I'm just taking my notes so I can make sure I say all these things the right way when I read it back. Or I could just wing it and try to remember what I said. Let's do that for the interest of time. The last one that I want to talk about, I know that I'm amending a motion right now, and I'm saying a lot of words that are not going into the amendment, but I just want to give some background for why I'm going to say what I'm going to say. The artificial turf section has got me a little bit wary. I've come on some literature recently that was talking about some of the concerns around health and environment related to certain artificial turfs and the backing used underneath that and the fills, things like carcinogens, the heat, they can get hotter than asphalt. And then there's microplastics also in that stuff, and we are quite close to a floodplain. So I think it's important that we make sure that the artificial turf is safe for the environment and it's safe for people and pets or people that will come into contact with it. So that being said, I think that we should say the artificial turf should be limited to places where people are not going to be expected to traffic, where it's just kind of like a decorative green space area to keep people off of that use. Okay, so those are the three changes that I was going to say. So the motion, the amendments that I'm recommending are a minimum, adding that there's a minimum of 20 residential units in the RS parcels, that the certificate of occupancy for R33 is dependent on the vibe trail being completed, and the certificate of occupancy for the buildings around the vibe spot, 50% of the buildings around the vibe spot. Good Lord, what am I trying to say?
I don't know. Are you working on the artificial?
No
turf
certificate of
No.
occupancy will be issued for any more than 50% of the buildings around the vibe spot until the vibe spot is completed.
What she said, yeah, okay.
Thank you.
And the last part about the use of artificial turf be limited to places that are not for regular foot or animal traffic.
I'll second.
Any discussion on that terrible thing I just said? Sorry. Okay.
I'm okay with all of that except the artificial turf. I think artificial turf is developed and is fine for residential use. We have it in our areas. I'm not sure where you're coming from with that. Yeah, it's permitted by the city. It's permitted by my subdivision. Encouraged, actually. So I'm not sure what your reference was for that, but I think that might be an undue restriction on the developer. I think it's actually cooler than concrete and, but I don't want to kill your amendments based on one thing, so I'll think about it.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll let you ponder on that. If you're interested later, I can show you some of the information that I was reading on this.
Yeah, because we just added even more turf in our part.
I know. But
Yeah. Because we were told, everything.
yeah,
We feel and everything was good for it, so.
yeah. Any other discussion on the motion to amend? Okay, so let's vote on that motion to amend. All those in favor of those changes, I'm not going to name them all again unless you want me to. Thank you. Please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All opposed, say nay.
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 Okay, so the amendment fails. And so going back to discussion on the original motion to recommend approval, adding with gas to the convenience store line from prohibited uses, is there any other discussion on that? No? Okay. Okay. I guess we will go ahead and vote on that. All those in favor of recommending approval to council to approve this PUD with the discussed amendment, please say aye.
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 All opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
Okay, we approve that by a vote of 4-1. Thank you. Okay,
Thank you, Commissioners.
yeah. All righty. So with that being said, we are now at item number 6, adjournment. Okay. I'm going to go the long way today. We need a motion and a second to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Shield and a second from Commissioner Serrato to adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed, say nay. Okey dokey. Bye.